you were with Uncle Jack.
He's going to order the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's going to send me away.
Then have we got to part?
I'm afraid so. This is a very painful part.
It is always painful to part from people whom one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends can be endured with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable.
Thank you. I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend you if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me to be, in every way, the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you'll allow me, I will copy your remarks in my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I'd do anything to look at it. May I?
Oh, no. You see, it is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you will order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. I am quite ready for more. Oh, don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell cough.
Cecily, ever since I first looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I've dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think that you should tell me that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Cecily!
I don't think Uncle Jack would be very pleased if he learned you were staying on until next week at the same hour.
I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anybody in the whole world but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy! Why, of course. We have been engaged the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months?
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, became the chief topic of conversation between Miss Prism and I. And a man who is always talked about is always very attractive. One feels that there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, Ernest, but I fell in love with you.
Darling, and when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I resolved to end matters one way or another. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear old tree here. The next day, I brought this little ring in your name. And here is the bangle with the true lover's knot I promised you always to wear.
Did I get you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you've wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given you for leading such a bad life. And here's the box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters? But, my own sweet Cecily, I've never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember all too well how I was forced to write your own letters for you. I was always 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Oh, do let me read them, Cecily.
Oh, no. They would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after I had broken off our engagement are so beautiful and so badly spelled I can hardly read them even now without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Of course. You can see the entry if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
But why on earth did you break it off? What had I done? I had done nothing at all. I'm very hurt indeed to hear that you broke it off, particularly when the weather was so charming.
Oh, it would have hardly been a serious engagement if it had not been broken off at least once. Besides, I forgave you before the week was out.
What a perfect little angel you are, Cecily.
I hope your hair curls naturally, does it?
Yes, with a little help from others.
I'm glad to hear it.
You won't break off our engagement again, will you?
I don't think we could now that we have actually met. Besides, there is the question of your name.
Yes, of course.
You mustn't laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone of the name Earnest. There is something in that name which inspires absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Earnest.
But do you mean to say that you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
Like what name?
Oh, any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name of Algernon.
Well, I don't see why at all you should object to the name of Algernon. It is not at all a bad name. In fact, it is a rather aristocratic name. Half the chaps who get into the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But seriously, Cecily, if my name was Algie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character, but I fear that I could never give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, I suppose, thoroughly experienced in all the practice of all the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh, yes, Dr. Chasuble is a very learned man. He has never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must speak to him at once on the most important christening. I mean, on most important business. I shan't be away more than half an hour.
Given that we have been engaged since February the 14th, and today was the first time I saw you, I think it rather harsh that you should leave me for so long a period as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I must enter his proposal in my diary.
This ghastly state of things is what you call bumbering, I suppose.
Yes, and what a perfectly wonderful Bunbury it is. The most wonderful Bunbury I have ever experienced.
Well, you have no right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
That is absurd. One has a right to Bunbury anywhere one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious Bunburyist, good heavens.
Well, one must be serious about something if one wants to have any amusement at all in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What on earth you are serious about, I haven't the remotest idea. About everything, I should fancy. You have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I get out of this whole wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run up and down the country quite so often as you used to, dear Algie. That's a very good thing, too.
Your brother is a little off color, isn't he? You won't be able to disappear off to London quite so often as your wicked custom was. And not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Carter, your taking of a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable. Say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defense for you deceiving a brilliant, clever, young little woman like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolyn, that's all. I love her.
Well, I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
Well, there is certainly no chance that you're marrying Miss Carter.
I think there's not much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that is no business of yours.
If it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It's very vulgar to talk about one's business. Only people like stockbrokers do that. And then merely at dinner parties.
How can you sit there calmly eating muffins when we're in this horrible trouble? I can't make out. You seem to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter would get on my cuffs. One should always eat muffins quite calmly. Is the only way to eat them.
I say it's perfectly heartless you're eating muffins at all under these circumstances.
When I'm in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. And indeed, when I am in really great trouble, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except food or drink. At the moment, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that is no reason why you should eat them all in that greedy way.
I wish you would have tea cake instead. I don't like tea cake.
Good heavens, man eats his own muffins in his own garden?
But you just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless of you to eat muffins. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are still the same.
Algie, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner. It's absurd. I never miss my dinner. No one does, except for vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 5:45 under the name of Earnest.